Hi, Reddit. I never thought I'd end up here with a story like this, but I need an objective outside perspective. What happened to me is tearing me apart inside. My name is Alex. I'm 34. I live in a cozy suburb of Chicago, working as a software developer at a small firm. I've always considered myself calm and not prone to jealousy, but the events of the last few months have made me question my understanding of love, loyalty, and even myself. My girlfriend's name is Emily. She's 28. We met about 5 years ago at a mutual friend's party. I remember every moment, the music, the cheerful buzz, the scent of wine, and her smile. She was at the bar in a green outfit, and I, usually the shy type, somehow mustered the courage to approach her. She giggled when I got her drink wrong, and from that moment we talked nonstop all night. A couple of weeks later, we started dating officially. Everything unfolded like a fairy tale: evening walks, shared dinners, first trips, laughter until we cried. I believed I'd finally found the one. She was warm, energetic, ambitious. She taught chemistry classes at a college. Funny, considering what happened next. We were perfect for each other. Me, a bit introverted; her, vibrant, passionate, able to diffuse any tension with one hug. Our relationship wasn't cloudless, but it was solid. We didn't argue often, preferring to discuss and compromise. My friends would tease me. "Hey, Alex, when's the ceremony?" And I'd joke back, when I know I'm ready to spend every day with her. After 4 years, I proposed. It happened in a small park by the river where we had our first kiss. She teared up, said yes, and it became one of the happiest moments. The first suspicions came out of nowhere. One day we were going through old albums at her apartment. Emily pulled out a stack of childhood photos, an ordinary evening of reminiscing. In one photo, she was with an unfamiliar man, not her dad, someone else. I asked, "Who's that?" She froze for a moment, then answered too hastily, "Just a family friend, helped my dad when I was a kid." I didn't think much of it, but later I noticed that whenever her father was mentioned, Emily got tense. She said her parents split when she was 12. Her dad moved to another city, and they rarely kept in touch. One night, after an extra drink, she muttered, "Sometimes I feel like my dad was hiding something from me." Then she brushed it off. "Don't mind me, it's nonsense." I let it go that time. A year after the engagement, Emily announced she was pregnant. It was sudden, but I was thrilled. I paced the room, hugged her, fantasized about the future. But a couple of weeks later, everything went sideways. She changed, became distant. She avoided conversations, locked herself in the room with her phone, often went to her parents, even though that was rare before. I blamed hormones, fatigue, her condition, typical stuff. But one day she left her phone on the table, and a notification from D popped up. "Are you sure he won't suspect anything?" My world flipped upside down. I didn't snoop further. I just set the gadget aside and went for a walk. All evening I could only think, what if the baby isn't mine? At first I pushed the idea away. "You're crazy," I told myself. "She loves you, it's a coincidence." But then little things piled up. She suddenly switched doctors, saying it was closer to work. She stopped inviting me to family chats with photos. Emily's mom, usually friendly and open, now talked to me coolly like she knew something. I started suffering from insomnia. I'd get up in the middle of the night, wander the house, twist the ring on my finger and think, if I'm wrong, it'll ruin everything. If I'm right, I'm living a lie. One evening at dinner, I gathered my courage and said, "Emily, can I ask, are you sure the baby is mine?" She reacted sharply, like I'd insulted her. "What?" she whispered. "How dare you say that?" "It's just, I feel like you're not telling me something," I replied calmly. She jumped up, her eyes flashing with tears and anger. "You're calling me a liar after everything we've had." I tried to explain that it wasn't an accusation, just concern, that I just wanted clarity before the wedding. But Emily wasn't listening. She sobbed, yelled, said I'd ruined everything. "You've destroyed it all, Alex, everything." An hour later, she packed a bag and left for her parents. The next days were a nightmare. I called, she ignored. I texted, silence. A week later, her mom called. "Alex, are you out of your mind?" she said in an icy tone. "My daughter is pregnant and you drove her to tears." "I just wanted a DNA test," I replied. "Not because I don't love her, but for the truth." "If you truly love her, you don't need a test," she snapped. "You're not worthy of her." I hung up. A couple of days later, I talked to my old friend John. He listened and said, "Dude, if you'd stayed silent, the doubts would eat you alive. Better now than years later." And he was right. I knew I might lose Emily, but living in ignorance was unbearable. 3 weeks passed, she didn't come back. The wedding planned for August, she postponed for now. I feel like her family turned her against me. My parents say I'm right, friends that I overdid it. And I just sit by the window in the evenings, look at the ring I'm keeping and wonder, am I really an asshole? Or just a guy who wants to make sure his future isn't built on a lie? It's been almost 3 weeks since that conversation. Silence, no calls, no texts. Even her cousin, who I got along with, stopped responding. Sometimes it felt like her whole family just erased me from existence. But the worst happened one morning when I logged into Facebook and saw that Emily had deleted all our shared photos. All of them from vacations, the engagement, celebrations. Only posts left with captions like, "Sometimes people reveal their true nature at the most unexpected moment." My chest tightened. I felt like a monster. Not because I did something wrong, but because everyone now saw me as the villain. On the 5th day of silence, I went to my parents. My dad, an old school guy, met me at the door, adjusted his hat, and asked, "What did you do this time, son? Your mom is worried like you committed a crime." We sat in the living room. I laid it all out, the suspicions, the argument, her leaving. He listened quietly, then said, "You did the right thing, Alex. Really, even if it destroys everything. If she loves you, she'll understand. If not, better to know now than in 15 years raising someone else's kid." Mom, on the other hand, was gentler. "Women are vulnerable in that state. She might have taken your words as betrayal. Try apologizing, not for the request itself, but for how you said it." Her words stuck in my mind. Maybe the issue wasn't the content, but the delivery. The next morning, my phone buzzed. A message from Emily. "I need a break. I'm not ready to talk. Please don't come over." It was something, at least, a thread. I replied, "Okay, let's take a pause, but I'm here if you want to talk." More days passed, then weeks. I dove into work to drown out the thoughts, but they came back like a boomerang. Every evening, I'd catch myself standing by the window, waiting for her car to pull up. After a month, friends dragged me to a pub. We sat, joked, tried to distract me, and then John, my childhood buddy, said, "Listen, maybe just relax and wait. If the baby's yours, she can't hide it." I sighed. "John, you don't get it. It's not about hiding or not. It's about trust. If she's already mad over a simple question, how do we move forward?" He agreed. "Or maybe you're just afraid of being deceived, not because she's guilty, but because of past pain." His words hit home. When I was 27, an ex cheated with her coworker. Back then, I refused to believe it too. Probably since then, that fear took root in me, the dread of being fooled. That evening, late at night, the phone rang. Name Emily. I nearly dropped the device in shock. "Hello," her voice was quiet, almost foreign. "Hello," I echoed. "Glad you called." Pause, then a sigh. "Alex, I don't know how to feel about you now." "Emily, I just wanted the truth. I didn't mean to hurt you." "But you did, deeply. I felt suspected, like under scrutiny." I listened without interrupting. "I understand," I said. "But understand me, I wasn't accusing, I just wanted certainty." She sobbed. "The baby's yours, Alex, I know. But now it's hard for me to look at you because you don't believe." A couple of days later, she agreed to meet. We chose the bistro we often went to. She came, pale, tired. I wanted to hug her, but she pulled away. "You know," she started, "I've thought a lot. Mom says you're toxic, friends that I can't trust you. And what do you think? I asked. I think I don't recognize you. Those words hurt more than yelling. I quietly said, I'm just a guy who wants to know the child he'll love is really his. Is that a sin? She looked away. And if I demanded a loyalty test from you? I'd take it, no doubts. She looked at me and said, then we're probably too different. After the meeting, I felt a heaviness in my chest. The next day, her cousin texted, Alex, you're acting like a psycho, give her space. She's pregnant, she can't stress. Then our mutual friend, Chris, called. Bro, I get you, but you went too far. This isn't a movie where you can just demand a test. That's not how it's done. And here I am, alone against the world. Everyone around decided I'm a monster who insulted a pregnant saint. Sometimes I thought maybe I did overdo it. Maybe I should have just believed. But then I'd remember that notification from Dee, her detachment, the secrets, and it all came back. I realized if I just pretend to believe, that's not faith, it's deception for peace. A week after the meeting, a letter came. From a lawyer. Dear Mr. Johnson, Miss Emily Smith requests no personal contact. All child-related matters through counsel. I reread it several times. Then I just sat down and laughed, bitterly, silently. This isn't a conflict anymore, it's a battle. More weeks passed. I didn't know where she was, how she was, if the baby was okay. But one evening, John called and said, Alex, you won't believe it. Emily was seen at the store with that guy. You know, the one from the notification. Everything went cold inside me. For sure. 100, they were arm in arm. That night, I didn't sleep a wink. Not from rage, from the realization that my fears might have been true. A month passed, I almost stopped waiting for news. The ceremony was officially canceled. Gifts from friends returned. The ring sits in the drawer. Sometimes I'd browse Reddit, read similar stories. Guys, girls, doubts, hurts. And each time I'd realize no one is absolutely right. Love isn't science, but trust. It's either there or not. And now I didn't know what was worse. That she really deceived me. Or that I ruined everything out of fear I couldn't let go. It's been over 3 months since the collapse. I became like a shadow, living mechanically, eating on schedule, working on autopilot. But one idea kept swirling in my head. What if I was wrong? What if the baby really is mine, and I ruined it all because of my fears? I tried to push it away, but couldn't. One evening, as I was getting ready for bed, the phone rang. Unknown number. Yes. Alex, it's Rachel. Rachel, Emily's close friend, the one who once called me the perfect partner. Now her voice was anxious. We need to talk. About what? About Emily and what's going on. We met in the parking lot by a cafe to stay discreet. She looked worried, glancing around. Rachel, what's wrong? She sighed. I can't watch you both suffer. I know Emily's pregnant, but there's a detail you don't know. My heart pounded. Tell me. Remember Dee? Yes. That's David, her coworker. I froze. Coworker. Yeah, they were texting, but not about an affair. He was helping with a project, but then things got complicated. How complicated? Rachel looked down. David always flirted with her. Everyone knew, and at one party he must have had too much. I don't know the details, but after that Emily changed, became withdrawn, anxious. A chill ran down my spine. You're suggesting? I'm not sure, Alex. She didn't say it outright, but I saw her crying after everyone left. In a flash, everything replayed. Her odd behaviors, emotional outbursts, her words not ready to talk. Maybe she wasn't afraid of the DNA test showing not your paternity, but that had happened against her will. My head spun. I sat on the curb in the middle of the parking lot. Rachel quietly added, I shouldn't have said anything, but you deserve to know it's not all black and white. The next day, I called Emily. Hi, I said when she answered. What do you want, Alex? Please listen, I know about David. Silence, then a sharp intake of breath. Who told you? Doesn't matter, I want to figure this out. She exploded. You have no idea what I've been through. You think I hid it because of a fling. I stayed silent, my throat was dry. That evening, she spoke quickly, almost whispering, was a nightmare. I thought I could trust him. We drank, he walked me to the car. I don't want to remember the rest. The world stopped. When I found out about the pregnancy, I didn't know whose it was, she continued. I was afraid if I told you, you'd leave. Emily. And then you asked about the test, and it broke me. I thought you'd figured it out. She sobbed. I couldn't find words, in my head echoing. I made a woman who went through horror feel guilty. I quietly asked, why didn't you share sooner? I was afraid of losing you forever. After that conversation, I couldn't eat or sleep. My request for a test suddenly became a sign of betrayal, even though I just wanted honesty. Now I didn't know what to do. If the baby isn't mine, I'm ready to accept knowing Emily's innocent. But how to convince her I'm not the enemy? A couple of days later, I went to her. She opened the door wary. I'm not here for the test. I'm here to say it doesn't matter whose baby it is. I want to be with you both. She looked skeptical. Why the change? Because now I know the truth. She covered her mouth, disbelieving. Then she just sat on the floor and sobbed. The following weeks dragged slowly. We started talking again, cautiously, no commitments. Sometimes I felt out of place, sometimes, like the only one who understood her. She still refused the DNA test. I didn't push. The main thing was for her to feel safe. But inside, fear lingered. Deeply hidden. What if the baby isn't mine? What if I'm building a life on a lie I'm ignoring? A few months later, she gave birth to a son. I was there. When the nurse brought the baby, I couldn't look away. He was tiny with surprisingly familiar gray eyes, my eyes. And in that moment I knew I didn't need anything else. It's been 4 months. One evening while sorting documents, a sheet fell out of a folder, a medical certificate. On it, Emily's and the baby's blood test results. I wasn't snooping, honestly, I just noticed it. My heart stopped. In the father's blood type, column mismatch. The son couldn't be mine. Silence, 5 seconds, 10. I stood staring at the paper, feeling everything crumble again. I examined the document 10 times. Date, lab, name. All accurate. The baby isn't mine. First emotion, not anger but emptiness. I didn't even have the strength to yell. I just stood and thought about how to go on. Emily didn't know I'd seen it. I could throw the paper away and pretend. Maybe that would be easier. But looking at the photo, her with the son in her arms, smiling me beside, I realized this lie is already in my life. The next morning, I didn't go to the office. I went to Emily. She opened in casual clothes with the baby. Alex, something wrong. I didn't know where to start. Emily, I found a document, medical. She paled. What document? The test results, there's a mismatch. Pause. She looked down, holding the son close. You knew from the start, she said quietly. You sensed it. No, I wanted to believe, but now. Now what, leaving? I didn't answer right away. Because I didn't know. She put the son in the crib and sat across from me. I didn't want this outcome, she began, trembling. I didn't know who the father was. I tried to erase that evening from my memory. When I found out about the pregnancy, everything froze inside. I listened silently. I did a test secretly, she continued. Found out the son isn't yours, but I couldn't confess. By then you were part of everything. You cared, planned, believed. I was afraid to break what felt like normalcy. She sobbed. I sat quietly. In my head she lied, but not out of malice, out of suffering. I could leave right then. say you betrayed my trust, and slam the door forever. No one would judge. Reddit friends, parents all would say, "You're right, it's not your son." But looking at the baby, who recognized my voice, reached out his hands and smiled, I realized, it's more complicated. I remembered my dad, strict, distant, always saying, "Blood ties are the only thing that matters." But now, looking into the son's eyes, I realized for the first time that was a lie. I stood up, went to the crib. The baby smiled and grabbed my finger. I said, "His name is Liam, right?" "Yes," Emily whispered. "Good, so Liam Williams." She lifted her eyes. "What do you mean?" "I'm staying." Tears streamed down her cheeks. "But why, after everything?" "Because he's innocent, and so are you." Weeks later, I told my brother. He listened and said, "You're crazy, it's not your son, you'll ruin your life." I smiled. Maybe, but bro, sometimes humanity isn't in logic, but in choosing despite the pain. Emily and I went to a therapist. At first, to learn to communicate. She opened up gradually, shared her experiences. I learned to listen, not judge. Sometimes I wanted to quit everything. Sometimes I'd wake up at night and look at the sun, thinking, what happens when he grows up and finds out? But then he'd reach for me, and the doubts melted. Now Liam is 6. He calls me dad. And honestly, I've long forgotten the question of whose he is, by blood. Biology is chance. True fatherhood is when you don't leave, even when you have a reason. Recently, Emily suggested formalizing the adoption. I agreed without hesitation. AITA for asking for a DNA test before marriage. No, I wasn't the asshole when I asked. I just didn't understand that behind the fear could be trauma. But I would have been an asshole if I'd left after the truth. Because then I realized, kinship isn't in blood, it's in choice. Sometimes life throws situations with no right path, where you either forgive or lose the ability to feel. My choice to stay, not out of saintliness, but because one day, looking into Liam's eyes, I understood. He didn't ask to start life with pain. But I can make sure it continues with care. And maybe that's what makes a person a father.